Okay.
how to write a little program on his computer so that it reminds you periodically to get off the damn computer and watch a funny video.
Oh, that's
Okay,
oh, that's what I want to do.
I know you do. So, so this is Python, which is a computer language
Oh,
that is used, well, for lots of things, but it's used for all kinds of software applications, including web applications.
oh,
Um, and it works differently than languages that you and I were familiar with back in the good old days.
Griffin Business School.
Yeah, Griffin Business School, and what was the you went to South Seattle Community College? Is that where you went?
No, no, Everett Community.
You went to Everett Community, right? And got your AA
South
degree in
Seattle.
data
I'm,
processing.
well, actually, I went to South Seattle to become a master mason, a journeyman mason. So I
Yeah.
actually have been there as well.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So anyway, back when we were doing that stuff in the '80s, programs had programming languages had all their stuff. You know, you started up a programming language, and all of its functionality was available to it as soon as you started
Mm-hmm.
it. With Python, it has lots of functionality, but only its base level is available to it when you start it. And uh, if you want its full functionality, you have to import that stuff incrementally. And so that's what we're going to do right now. Is I'm going to start off by importing a, a module, a Python module called web browser. Web browser. And we're going to import another one called time.
These are all tools within Python.
These are all, yeah, these are modules of functionality or little programs that are part of Python that aren't
Okay.
automatically part of it um, unless you have to import it essentially in order to get access to its.
What's the advantage of that? Just overhead, so you're not uh, working with a whole bunch of um,
Presumably,
yeah.
yeah, presumably that's the benefit. I don't know.
That's a
I
good
haven't
question.
learned that yet, but I assume that's the reason.
I just need to
Um, and so then we're going to um, define a variable. Remember what variables are, because we're going to do this little loop. This little loop is going to be, for a certain number of intervals, um, bring up a web browser with a funny video on it um, every 2 hours.
Mm-hmm.
But but we're not going to wait 2 hours to see if it works. We're going to do it in 10 seconds, but nevertheless. And so we're going to define a variable called breaks. Um, and and we'll go ahead and say we want to take 4 breaks. And then we're going to define another variable called break count. And at the moment, we're going to say that's 0 because that's going to be our counter for this loop.
Okay.
And then we're going to start the loop. It's a while loop. So while, and then so while break count equals, or I'm sorry, is less than breaks, then do this stuff. And so the first thing we're going to do is start the clock. And this time, um, this time module has a function called sleep, which is essentially a timer. So it waits to do something until the number of seconds specified is completed. So if we say time dot sleep, and then here you can see it's prompting me to enter the number of seconds. And so I'm just going to say 10 seconds for the time being. So that's the first thing we do is set the timer for 10 seconds. The second thing we do is after that 10 seconds, we're going to open up the web browser. And so that's web browser. And we're just going to say open. And then inside of the parentheses here, we have to tell it what our YouTube video should be. The URL of the YouTube.
Right, an address, right?
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So that's got to go in parentheses. So, I mean, inside the parentheses and inside of double quotes. So there's our YouTube address. So now it's going to open that. And then that's really all we want to do, except that we also want to increment that break counter, right?
Yeah.
So that it knows it's run once. So we'll say break count plus equals. This is the shortcut for saying add 1 to the break counter. Plus equals just means break count equals break count plus 1. And so then this loop is just going to go around and around and around until
advance it by
and advance it by 1 each time, and it'll stop as soon as break count is not less than breaks. So that's our little program. We're going to go ahead and save it.
So I noticed like import and the word while, those are highlighted in different colors. Is that because they're keywords within Python?
Yes. Not.
Yeah.
I suppose keywords is a good word for it. They're I think they're function. So the function import means that it's going to do that import. A function is sort of like a verb, right? It does something or it acts. And so, although that is my guess based on an hour of learning Python. So we'll see. And now we should just run it.
Where's your command to run it?
What's that?
How do you get it to run? You type in run?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. How do I get it to run in Atom? I've got another let's see. That's a great question.
Another great question from the student.
Yeah. I've got this this other text editor that's got a run option. I haven't learned how to run it from inside of Python, from inside of the text editor I like. So we're just going to say open module. No, that's not it. I'm going to say open, and we're going to open up this. No, that's not working. Let's try that one more time. File, open that. Okay, so there's the same thing we're looking at there. And this does have a run function.
It does. Yeah.
And so I've got the little command line interpreter out here running. So right now it's started. And there's our video. And now if I turn it off, oops, 10 seconds have happened. Turn it off again. This time I'll pause it. We should get it one more time. But no more times. Yeah, I think that's it. I think that's our 10 seconds.
Oh, I see. It was going to loop around for 10 oh, I see. Time sleep 10.
Yeah, 10 seconds, and it's happening 4 times. So that's our little, what really interests me about this language is the lack of punctuation. If this was JavaScript or PHP, you'd have all these little semicolons after this. If it was PHP, you'd be designating this variable with a $sign.
All these little syntax
like
things
that.
they leave off. They know what you want to do, so they Huh.
It's interesting, and it knows. I mean, by this indentation, Python knows that these are all things it should do while this is going on. If this was PHP, you would have again, this would be wrapped like that, and then you'd have a curly bracket and another curly bracket that would, it would be everything inside these brackets would run. But that's not the way Python works, and it doesn't require all that extra stuff.
Syntax, I call it.
It is syntax, yeah. And
how prevalent is this Python stuff now? Something you're taking a course on now, and it's used extensively?
yes, it is used extensively, especially by big players.
Huh.
Especially by business. It's most self-taught web developers don't learn Python; they learn PHP. But Python is, well, there are really sort of like 3 big scripting languages that are used. There's Java, there's PHP, and there's Python. And Python might be the bottom of that list, but it is prevalent among large companies, probably because it's taught at the university. Right? No universities teach PHP, or none that I've ever found.
How long has it been around?
A long time. I don't know. That's a great question. I don't know the answer to that question. Let's see. When did Python Start. Oh, it's named for Monty Python, right? Okay, December.
Wow,
Let's see.
a long time ago. Netherlands.
Yeah. So that's it.
Wow. Never
Back
heard of it.
back when we were getting started. What years did you go to Everett?
Let's see. I started Icicle in '83 or '84, so I was there early '80s, '81, '82, somewhere in there.
Yeah, that's about exactly the same time I was at Griffin.
I don't know. I think you were doing you had your little architecture thing with the Dunlaps, and I was finishing up. And then
When you were
who was it?
finishing?
Yeah. I mean, I remember you had that place in Linwood you were renting, not anywhere by the car washes. You were at that little building where, wasn't there a guy you were kind of partnered with that did sheet metal or HVAC work?
Yeah.
What was his name? Jordy?
Jordy, yeah, Jordy Kostelik, yeah. Yeah, well,
Yeah, well,
not anymore.
Jordy didn't have partners anymore, right?
No. Well, that was interesting.